But balls of steel.
Hello, everyone. I'm Onyx,
And I'm Rumble,
and we both have balls of steel.
balls of steel.
And welcome to the podcast. So this is the first episode of our podcast. There might be some issues here and there. That usually happens with podcasts. Um,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
oh yeah.
So what are you drinking tonight, Rumble?
I am drinking some Lipton tea.
Oh, nice. I am drinking a Cookie Nookie Buzzball. I am chilling, dude. Um, so I want to talk about Bloodborne.
Oh yes, Bloodborne.
Your first Souls game.
Sure.
Technically, my third Souls game. Technically. I mean, you could count Demon Souls, but my first, quote unquote Souls game aside from Demon Souls was Dark Souls 1, and then, of course, dreaded Dark Souls 2, which we try to pretend doesn't exist. And then, of course, there's Bloodborne, which brought me back to the Souls series. So, Bloodborne, man, I know some people probably like talk shit about Bloodborne because it caps at like 30 frames per second, and instead of using a shield, you have a gun. That's understandable. Um, but
Yeah,
there's
I
just,
mean it's different from what the Souls things are. Yeah.
but at the same time, it has this really nice dark atmosphere that I really really like.
Oh yeah.
So my first quote unquote character I ever made was basically called Jack the Ripper. Um, I remember it very well. I collabed with another person on it, but in the end, it was mostly just me trying to adapt to not having a shield, and getting used to using a gun. I remember perfectly that I chose a military veteran. No, no, it was
Ooh.
professional. Military veteran was my second playthrough, but I chose
Hmm.
professional. Um, I chose honestly, I chose the cleaver first, and then the blunderbuss. But I didn't. And honestly, though, I didn't really like the cleaver as much. So I remember when I got the Saw Hunter badge, before Father Gas Coin, and I
Yeah.
chose the beautiful Hunter's Axe, which is called Spin to Win. Um,
Ah yes.
Such a beautiful piece of equipment. Because you know how when you first start a video game, you're not exactly good at it. It takes a lot of practice, trial and error, what to do, what not to do, what holes to not fall in. Um, which cheers to our best friend Shadow Seed. He'll probably be listening to this later. So salute to you,
Yeah.
my good friend. We'll both take a sip of our drink. Mm, God, that's good. Um, but yeah, man. I remember when I first ran into the cleric beast, or or as most people would just call him, just a giant freaking screaming asshole. Um,
It makes sense.
yeah, yeah, because he screams at you when you first leave the clinic and you go up that ladder to meet your first lamp.
True.
It's a thing. It's a vibe. It's quite the vibe. Um, and Yeah, I mean, because what did you choose as your first character, class, and weapon and all that?
Uh, well, for my first build that I ever did on my end, I chose Troubled Childhood because I took some that you did back in the day whenever you did your little Randomborn series when I made Caleb.
Mm, okay, okay. And in case people don't know,
Yeah.
Caleb is from the first-person shooter game called Blood. It is a part of our childhood as well. Maybe one day we'll talk about that in a later, installment. But
Yeah.
please
Yeah,
continue.
whenever, yeah, probably. Yeah, so, yeah, basically in a nutshell, like, whenever I first got to actually play, the OG, Bloodborne game, for me, I had made Caleb, based on stuff that you had done with his end. I did kind of end up, changing things a little bit differently in the end, but I started off, I think, like I want to say with the cleaver as well, and I used the axe in the end. So basically, like he has the saw cleaver and the hunter axe, and then for me, at least, I used that repeating pistol because that was like the closest thing that you can get to a double barrel shotgun.
Hmm.
Because in Blood, yeah, because in Blood, for those that don't know, there is the infamous double barrel shotgun that can be able to fire like single barrel one by one or both together. So,
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, and then
Now out of both of the tutorial bosses, being Cleric Beast and Father Gascoigne, which one did you kind of adapt to faster?
that is actually a good question. I mean, because I will admit, like, because I remember like learning from you back in the day. Whenever you did Father Gascoigne, do that. Then you did that whole little trick of like using the tombstones and everything like that.
Yeah, I called that
Uh,
cock blocking. It's like, yeah, you in your human form, you can't burst through these things yet. Let's play some Ring Around the Rosie.
yeah, yeah, that is true. But I don't know. I guess like in a way, probably between Cleric Beast and Gascoigne, I guess like I kind of got used to Gascoigne a little bit, even though like when he did phase two, aka his beast form, that was like that took a little bit of doing, but I'd say at the end, I managed to get it down packed, and then of course, I would say like maybe, oh gosh, I'm trying to think, but like because I want to say, in my opinion at least, like
Hmm.
probably Gascoigne was a bit more easier ish to understand versus Cleric Beast because sometimes you never know when he might want to grab you.
I'm guessing it was because he was more of a humanoid boss versus Cleric Beast, where he was just this giant screaming asshole.
I guess you can say that. I mean, because like yeah, it's like yeah, I'm like yeah, he's part beast and all that, but it's like yeah, you fight him in first phase as a human, so like human versus human. So yeah, I guess you could say that.
Okay. Let me see. Was there any bosses that you know caught your mind, like as it being creative in any kind of way?
Oh man, I had never actually thought about that, and I played the game like so many fucking times now that
Me as well.
I
Yeah.
never actually, I never really thought about that. But I guess I'll throw that on to you. Maybe I'll bounce off of you if you get for your idea.
Let's see. I have to probably say though, my favorite tutorial though would have to be Cleric Beast. Um, because there's just something about like getting that perfect shot on his head with a gun and just going up to him and just like ripping his freaking skull out of his head. Like that's
Oh
I love that.
yeah,
It's such a satisfying feeling. Because
for sure, for sure.
Gascoigne is good too. Gascoigne's good too. But oh, if I'd have to say, it would probably maybe be Lady Maria from the DLC
Ooh, Lady Maria.
because, for one, I get it why people really like the woman. Like, I get it. I seriously do. From the voice actress to the lore slash story of her. Like, I get it. I totally get it. However,
Mm-hmm.
um, just the fact of like how fluent she is getting into her different phases of her boss fight is really nice and smooth. You know, like you can tell just like from the body language when she's going to change. Um,
Oh yeah, I can agree there. Yeah.
and plus combining that with the music, mm, chef's kiss, like absolute freaking chef's kiss. Um, I probably 9 times out of 10, a lot of people probably listening to this right now would probably choose Ludwig. Um, because Ludwig
Mm.
is kind of like putting a Dark Souls boss into Bloodborne. Which, I can see it. Especially the fact that he uses the Holy Moonlight Sword, which basically is just another version of like a staple in Dark Souls games. And even just FromSoft period, the whole Moonlight Greatsword. Like that's a staple thing that's in like almost every Souls game that you play. Um, but if I was to put the DLC aside, though, honestly, I'd probably have to go with Gurman. Because
Okay, I get you.
Gurman's boss fight is interesting because this guy's on a peg leg. He was, in a wheelchair for like most of the game.
True.
And that big twist where you find out he's the final boss, where technically he's been helping you progress through the game each time you go and talk to him. Like, it's weird. That's all I can really put is that's weird. Because
Yeah, I
you're,
guess.
we're,
Yeah.
yeah, because we're fighting this old guy that was in a wheelchair, has a giant scythe that just like appears behind his back, and he's pretty quick. He's pretty quick for an old guy. Like he's a quick old man. And then in his face
That's
too, he just screams like bloody murder, and just starts doing that little poof poof thing with the hunter bone when he's trying to either dodge or get to you. Like he's going
yeah.
all out for an old man. It's almost as if like he took some magical steroids or drugs or something and went in there. It's kind of like maybe he called in on Duke Nukem and got some of that vitamin X.
Oh my
Like,
god.
oh no, an old man wants some of my vitamins. But yeah, like it's it's a thing. It is quite a thing. So me putting that into perspective, seeing how you said you wanted to bounce off of me, is there any ideas you come up with?
Oh man, because I'm trying to like think because it has been a hot minute since I last played the game, but
Mm.
I will say like I do have to agree that like um I mean I know it might sound like cheap or whatever, but like I can as far as like main game goes, I would say yeah probably fighting Gurman would definitely have to be up there because it's like because like as you say like he at the beginning of the game he's in a wheelchair. He's helping us out, slowly but surely throughout the game, and all of a sudden, so, what a twist, and it's like he's suddenly the final boss.
Yeah.
But but yeah, I guess I have to say it probably like him, but I almost want to say like as a surprise in a way, like
Hmm.
the moon presence in
Oh
Bloodborne.
yeah, yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good
my
point.
the moon presence. Yeah,
I can see
the
that.
secret.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the fact that it's like you didn't even know about this boss unless you got like the so-called secret umbilical cords and
yeah,
consume them, which if a random person is listening to this and they don't know what the game is, probably will take that out of context. Um,
probably. Yeah,
because
but yeah, it's
umbilical
a thing for the
cords are
game people.
mostly known for babies. Um,
Hmm.
man, I just like pulled a Dusty Rhodes out of my hand like there, man. I was like, baby, I am the American Dream, Dusty Rose. But which one day we'll probably get to talking about wrestling too. Was there like any areas in the game that took you by surprise, like from atmosphere or something?
Oh man, atmosphere. That's another thing that's kind of a little hard, but I guess probably in a sense I'd have to go with Nightmare Frontier.
Ooh, good choice. Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
really good choice.
yeah. Also known pretty much as a Invasion Central, because a lot of times people will try and have it try to invade there.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. For me, it will probably either be Hyperborean Jail because of mostly the atmosphere. Because there's not exactly music, it's just kind of like an eerie sound that goes on through the whole thing. And you're
Oh, okay,
basically
that's
being
a pretty good
hunted
one.
by the really tall bagmen, too. Even though they're called kidnappers in the game, but they have giant bags. Okay, so that's why
True,
we call them
that's true.
bagmen. Um,
Yeah.
so there's Hyperborean Jail. Oh my god, what's another one? To be honest, probably one of my favorite playgrounds, Forbidden Woods.
Yes, Forbidden Woods.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like Forbidden Woods, but at the same time, I know how to get through there. I ain't scared of nothing. I mean, like you, I have balls of steel, and I'll just go in there. I'll go in there balls deep and just hit everything. I'll be like, "Come here, boy! Don't shoot at me." Um, there's always somebody trying to shoot us, or a tall freaking beast trying to grab us and stuff. Like, oh my god, dude.
Yeah, it's quite a thing for sure.
Plus the different layers of lore from like, for example, like people turning into beasts to finding out that there's like a cosmic force that's involved in the story, to even just going much lower into the lore, like going into the chalice dungeons and finding out that Temerians were a thing, like before Yarnum, before the people, the Yarnamites, before the beast scourge, before the freaking cosmic forces of it. We got Thumerians, people with pale skin that we still don't know anything about. You know,
Yeah,
like it's just freaking weird.
I can see that being a thing. Yeah.
Because I mean, you could go to like almost anybody and ask them, "Hey, do you know anything about the lore of Bloodborne?" And the only reply that you can really give that would make sense is there's just too much to talk about.
Oh yeah, like it's it's too much. It's too much to say. And hard to really put in a good explanation.
Yeah, it's like we know what's going on, but putting it into words is very hard. I mean, even words, period, are hard in real life, but we're not
Oh
here to
yeah.
talk about in real life. In real life is scary and it's filled with grass. Um, and I'm not here to talk about grass. It's not Demon Souls time yet. Yeah, because in Demon Souls, it's like a predecessor of Bloodborne, where instead of grinding, getting blood vials, you would get grass.
Oh god.
Yeah, it's like a vegetarian's dream. Um, like Attack of the VeggieTales.
Oh god.
Now I will. I have a good question for you. What's if you could choose five bosses that pissed you off the most in Bloodborne? What would they be? And
Yeah. What would they be and why?
yeah,
Oh gosh, let me think. So if we're talking about in total, which I know we are, from main game DLC, I'd say
mm,
definitely the first one would have to be Ludwig.
mm,
And I know that you know this because I think because like you got it because I know how you are. You like to lurk in the shadows. But I remember once upon a random time when I did my first full stream playthrough of Bloodborne. I had my a certain infamous character that we can probably talk about it at another time, whatever. But I remember once upon a time, I was I think like once upon a time like the situation happened where me and you kind of had like got in a bit of a heated argument kind of thing, and I was like, I want to kind of take that out on something, and the one thing I wanted to do was play some Bloodborne,
Mm.
and I remember the one wall that I had at the time was Ludwig because I kept dying to that motherfucker so many times trying to figure out like how he moves, how he works, all that shit.
Yeah, I
And
remember
to the
that you
point,
didn't like this one attack where he jumps up into the air, disappears, and then just lands right on you. I know that's one attack that you don't like.
yeah, yeah. I could not fucking stand that because, like, for one, you never know exactly. It's basically gonna like fucking one hit you or whatever, or you never know. And I never could really get the timing down. I don't know if I still could get that fucking timing down, but yeah, like fucking, I say Ludwig was definitely number one. Um, Orphan of Cause definitely number two because
Mm.
because I feel like Orphan of Cause could be in. You probably might agree with me when I say this, but he feels so damn random sometimes.
Hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, Orphan of Cause number two. Um, I'd say probably number three would have to go to our old fiery cleric beast boyo. You know what I'm talking about?
Hmm. Yeah, you're talking
Um,
about Lawrence.
yeah, Lawrence. Yeah, fucking yeah. Because sometimes, because like his moves and everything like that, it's just it can be also fucking annoying, especially like when he punches to the ground, like he just get like that AOE shit, and then
Mm.
of course when he goes into phase two, when he's like how he's cut in half, like he's cut in half, and he's like just just oozing fucking lava all over the ground and
Yeah,
everything.
and he's crawling at you like the Terminator.
Yeah, yeah, that
Yeah.
is a good way to put it. Um,
Because, see, I like Cleric Beast, but when they turned Cleric Beast into nothing but fire and lava and kind of put him in the DLC, uh, I kind of thought that Lawrence was a bit lazy. Like
true, yeah,
they could have given us a better flaming beast of something than just Cleric Beast. Like it's it's insane. It's absolutely insane. Um,
true, yeah.
but please continue your list because you mentioned Orphan of Kos, you mentioned Ludwig, uh,
Yeah,
Lawrence.
yeah. So those three. Um, I'd say probably also as well. I'd say probably number four would have to be German in my opinion,
Mm.
because sometimes you never know what he might pull out of his ass or whatever. And probably the last one would be um, I forget the name, but it's the one that you fight before you would do the ending. The one that likes to chop your ass up.
Oh, Margot's Wet Nurse,
Yes, that one.
the one that you always do like the choppy choppy memes with. Like, yeah, I can get you there,
Yeah,
especially
yeah, yeah. That's fine.
when it's phase two. Uh,
Yeah, phase two can be kind of annoying, especially like when it does like that little like makes everything all dark and it's like you have to like run around with like your head like a chicken with your head cut off or something. Unless you probably have someone in there with you, but like hey you do this, I will try and find the bitch or the bitch themselves or whatever.
yeah, I never really liked the phase two either because you always have to like roll around and it's the only way that you can really dodge the attacks because she
Yeah,
brings in
pretty
like
much.
another clone of herself. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. What
but
about you?
I, see, I already got one in mind, and I'm actually surprised you never brought it up. Mikolash.
Who? Oh,
I hate that chicken
me
shit
flash.
bastard. Like, even if you can cheese him, which is very possible to do because we've both done it, and
Indeed.
it's just the fact that he's always running from you in that whole boss fight, and it's stupid. he's a very stupid boss. Like I'd say if we didn't have the cheese to defeat him, he would be much higher on my list. Um, I just
could
don't
see
like him.
that.
I hate him. I hate his guts. He can go straight down to hell. Like dead serious. Let me see. My number two, of course, would have to be Orphan of Koth.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Fighting Orphan of Koth my first time was not fun. I hated fighting Orphan of Koth. I'm never gonna like Orphan of Koth, no matter what type of build idea I use. I'm just never gonna like him. I just don't like him. Let me see. My number three, the One Reborn. Because my first time playing Bloodborne, funny enough, the One Reborn was the one boss that killed me the most. Simply because, simply because I couldn't get used to the whole vomit thing that he does, where he like vomits. Forgive me for the TMI, everyone, but he vomits all over the ground and completely covers like 2/3 of the boss room with that, and it hurt. It hurts you. And just for the longest time, I never really could deal with that. Even when I defeated the little bell ladies at the top of the boss room, like
yeah.
it was just she was rude. They were rude. They were all rude. They were Rudy Poo candy asses. They were just all rude.
That's definitely one way of putting it.
Oh yeah. Number four. Let's see. Probably Logarius. Like Logarius' second phase was always what got me. Because the first phase isn't too bad because you can shoot him in his attack animations and you can, like a parry and do a visceral to deal with him. But it's his second phase that got to me because you can't really parry him in phase 2. It bounces off of him.
Yeah, like just...
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes he gets aggressive as well, in like the wrong times. Because he's both one of the easiest fights, but also one of the hardest. But it's because of the separate phases that he has.
True.
Now, if I was going to choose a number 5, I might have to agree with you on Lawrence. Now, I always dread 2 bosses in Bloodborne, and that's Orphan of Koth and Lawrence. Why I don't like Lawrence is if you get the wrong RNG, also known as wrong random number generator, also known as the decisions of the AI, if you get the wrong setup, it can be some of the roughest shit that you deal with.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, if you get Lawrence just jumping around and shit and slamming you, you don't want that. There's also the phase 1 where he'll sweep at you with his longer hand, and sometimes he'll grab you just out of nowhere when you dodge it perfectly. Like he'll just get like what's called phantom reach, and he'll just somehow have enough frames to grab you out of your dodge and just fucking slam you down. Like I can't stand that shit. Like, and then you lead into his phase 2, where sometimes when he's crawling towards you, he'll do this circle shit where the lava will stop you from attacking him, even when you know that you're very close to defeating him. Like, his health bar will be so low, but you can't reach him because he's completely covering the floor with lava, especially when he spurts it out his mouth. Like, that right there is rough. That's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
100% rough right there. Like, just no. Just no. Um,
yeah. Hmm. Yeah,
what about the
I'm
e?
thinking about yours.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What about
Hmm.
the easiest boss? Was there a boss that was always easy for you?
A boss that was always easy. Damn, that's another thing. It's like I'm trying to think because if I have to do easiest boss, I would say, and this might sound crazy, but I'd have to probably go with Gascoigne, because I gotten like used to him, and just like, know what kind of moves to put on them and everything like that, and just, have like bring some fire, like fire paper, to up your weapons and all that, and just
Let
go
me
from
take
there.
a guess. You're going to bring up your blood level 4 character called Old Man Patches.
I mean, I wasn't planning on it, but if you want to go there, I can.
So, everybody listening right now, Rumble right here decided to do a blood level 4 only run, which I have done before, which probably one day I might do another one, where you start off at base level, lowest level of the character creation. And all you do is just upgrade your weapon, get your Carol runes for your slots, and
Mm,
go blood gem hunting. Which, in case people don't know, blood gems are what make your weapon stronger, not just upgrading it. Because I remember in the past, I tried to do a playthrough of Bloodborne where I never upgraded my weapon. And
oh,
that's very rough because that means you can't use blood gems.
yeah.
However, I felt that it made the game easier when you would do nothing but upgrade your weapon and get blood gems. And that's what makes blood level 4 much more doable than like soul level 1 runs in like Dark Souls or Dark Souls 3 or even Elden Ring, which one day we'll talk about Elden Ring.
Oh yeah.
But But yeah, Rumble decided to go in there with a blood level 4 base character, and he uses both the Saw Cleaver and the Hunter Axe because that's the two that really are the most viable in certain boss fights.
Yep. It
And
is.
I love the fact that when it comes to you playing as Old Man Patches, it's both a meme and
Mm-hmm.
it's also punishment at the same time because I'd have to say like 75% of the Souls community do not like patches.
Yeah, that's kind of that was kind of like why like I wanted to do that because like because here's the thing and because I'm because when it comes to making characters, right,
Mm.
I will admit like I'm not fucking original like like my like Mr. Onyx over here
Yeah, I
even
make
though
works
like
of art. Yeah.
yeah like he makes his own things and all that. For me, I often might do a thing where it's like I might take something that I've seen someone else do, or take that maybe tweak it into my own, which I did with a certain doctor, or I might make like characters from the game from like a game or two and have my own little twist to it. And yes, I did make patches because I was thinking to myself like, well, if I'm going to suffer, I need someone to suffer with me, so. And so I was thinking to myself like, okay, I think I have an idea. So I'm gonna make patches, and I'm gonna make them very old because because and this may sound like weird for like a story or whatever, but I like this idea for like a random little lore that after you kill him in Bloodborne, as these spider patches, as one would say,
Mm.
that he basically was in the void, like he was just surrounded by nothing but whiteness everywhere.
Mm.
And then and then he hears a voice saying that you will repay for what you have done, and you will become a better person, things like that.
Mm.
But you are going to be cursed from here on out. So he's going to be you're going to be a much older being than you once were, and you're going to be the weakest. But you can be able to use what resources, this stuff that you find, and
Mm.
that's where blood gems and stuff comes in, and that's what I did for my blood level 4 run. And I will admit, like I had like some some drawbacks, like maybe here and there, but I actually did manage to pull my way through and actually beat the main game with it, and I'm pretty happy about
Yeah, and I'm proud of you for it too. You've come a long way. Cause
that.
because I remember before I gifted you my old PlayStation 4, you talked about how you used to be very nervous that of getting into like an actual Souls game because you played the demake. Big shout out to those creators.
Hmm.
But that was like only the base thought process that you were having. Like you were adapting decently with that. And I
Yeah.
know for a fact that soon that little itch of satisfaction was being created in your mind. Um, and I knew that Bloodborne was going to be rough and hard on you your first time. Everybody's first or second playthrough of a game is always going to be rough. You don't start off, perfect at a game when you first start. You don't. You know,
Nope.
it's just not possible, in a normal human perspective, of course.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't some people that adapt fast to the conditions of a game. That's a completely different ballpark. But
Yeah.
I do feel that out of all the people that I've seen play Bloodborne, you have adapted the fastest. Cause one thing I've learned as you've gotten older, cause in case people don't know, we've known each other for about between 14 to 15 years. We met on YouTube.
Yep.
You know, we've never met in real life. One day we will have to before we get too old or possibly end up in a rocking chair. Um,
Yeah.
we'll have to meet sooner or later. But, the thing is, Rumble, and I think you can agree with this, we'll see if you do, you adapt faster the more suffering you go through in a game.
I guess that's a nice. I guess that's a good way to put it. I mean, yeah, because like, yeah, because the whole trial and error thing, comes into play. Yeah.
Yeah, because, I think you can agree you weren't good at Doom or Duke Nukem when you first started.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I will say like it like because yeah, the thing is was both Doom and Duke is that like yeah I when it came to Duke like I did play it at a young age because my dad used to own the a copy of the main game before it became Atomic Edition, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
And then when it came to Doom, like yeah, like the first Doom I ever played was Doom 64. So being able to like play like the other ones, like the PSX version to the classic OG ones, like yeah, it was definitely tricky to do, like not easy at first, but yeah, I've adapted to them.
yeah. And you know how hard games like that can be.
Hmm.
Especially if you use mods, which you're more of a modder player than I am.
True.
But, you take your adaptations from those games and you put it into Souls games. Would you say, because I think you can agree that if it wasn't for you learning about Doom or Duke Nukem, you wouldn't be the gamer you are today.
Oh, I'd say I would definitely agree. I mean, cause I've always said, and if people, like know me well enough and all that, like I'm known to be a big Duke Nukem guy. Like he's like the face of my like channels and everything like that and stuff that I do. But yeah, like I would say, if it wasn't for like Duke Nukem and stuff like that, would not. I would probably be a different person, I guess. Because because like Duke was the game that I grew up with, and and it's like it kind of made me into the gamer I am today. I would say.
Okay, so you take that. Do you think that starting Souls games has enhanced you as a gamer similarly to Doom and Duke Nukem?
I'd say it probably would be up there. I mean, because like because as we all know, like a lot of games, they're going to have like their own little like style, sort of play the different play styles and all that. But I guess I would because like it because yeah, I think there's like some elements here and there that kind of like work go from one thing to the other. So I guess I would say yeah.
Because back in the day, because I loved Doom and Duke Nukem. There wasn't really a lot of first person shooter games that could really top those two games. People tried.
True.
Like, in the end, one day in probably a future installment, we'll talk about, some of our favorite first person shooters. But,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's almost as if history is always trying to repeat itself when it comes to groundbreaking games. Because even
Yeah.
still, Doom and Duke Nukem are two games that are still talked about to this day.
Oh yeah.
And I guess you could kind of say that, the company from software making Dark Souls games, Bloodborne, and to even Elden Ring, there is companies, rival companies, that want to create that same similar feeling of satisfaction of like beating tough bosses, a really strong story, um, good gameplay features, graphics, even. Um, you know, because it's kind of the same thing with Doom and Duke Nukem. When you think of first person shooter games, like the most iconic ones, one of them is going to end up being Doom.
Oh yeah.
It's just going to be a thing. Duke Nukem is probably like a side thing that people will remember. Same with Blood.
Mm.
Like those, in my opinion, are the three strongest contenders for like not only the greatest first person shooter games, but also the most important ones. Because, Doom had you fighting demons and you were a space marine.
Yep.
You
That's
know,
true.
would you like to give like a tiny little rundown of what Duke Nukem is? Maybe even Blood.
Well, I mean, for Duke, pretty much you're just someone who you're pretty much, coming from back, from, well, excuse me.
It's all
So
good.
so when it comes to Duke, it follows pretty much the story of like the classic Duke Nukem 1 and 2, but basically you're just a guy who became famous from killing a lot of demons and also taking down this one evil doctor dude named Doctor Proton. Well,
Hmm.
as you come back, from all the adventure stuff that you had to Earth, you find out that everything has gone to shit on Earth, literally, because there's mutated pit cops, there's aliens everywhere, and all this and all this sort of shit. Basically, and you go through. You go through Earth, you go to space, go to Earth again, go through all kinds of different places, trying, to like, kill all the aliens and, possibly save babes, depending on, what version of Duke you're playing.
Yeah.
And Blood, I would say, is a bit of an interesting story because because I would almost say like maybe it had like a little bit of a thing that maybe Bloodborne took out of it, where it's like um, you're kind of like you're a part of a thing with someone. You're like the final boss was someone that was that you were was kind of helping you along the way,
Hmm.
which is a boss called Chernobog. A very big old evil demon looking thing, and you're playing as Caleb, a guy who pretty much lost everything. He lost his wife, he lost his friends. He got betrayed by Chernobog himself. He got thrown into a grave, pretty much to be long and forgotten for about forever. But he comes back out of the grave to seek revenge, and also build, find, and kill Chernobog himself in order to become all powerful.
And I mean, also, if you think about it, Doom was considered a serious first person shooter. Duke Nukem was considered a comedic first person shooter. And Blood is more of a horror first person shooter.
That's one way to put it. That's a good way to put it. Because like because like all like Doom, Duke, Blood, even like all other games like they had like their own little like theme for each of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and that can kind of be put into play when it comes to Souls games. Because technically, when it comes to Bloodborne, I think of Bloodborne as a horror eldritch tale with the Souls formula.
Oh yeah.
Because one day we'll talk about like Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring, but today we're talking about Bloodborne because why not? Bloodborne is both of our favorite Souls games.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
it kind of started a little bit of the trend of addiction to killing things with us. you know, it's just quite lovely. Um, and in the end, Bloodborne's also one of those kinds of games where no matter how many times I play it, I always learn something new.
hmm
Like just either it's something in the base game or something in the DLC or even something in the Chalice dungeons. Like the Chalice dungeons, they can be pretty challenging too. And in case people don't know
Oh
what
yeah.
Chalice dungeons are, there's a couple different kinds of Chalice dungeons where there's storyline Chalice dungeons where it's part of the story of learning more of the lore to go through them. You can do those offline. There's also the online ones where those in particular, it's mostly just for learning what other stuff is down there.
Oh yeah.
Because not everything is tied to the story. There's also stuff there just for fun. And also, a long time ago, we learned that there was developer dungeons, where when it came to developer dungeons, there was stuff there that was like cut content, things that wasn't supposed to exist. It's very weird. It's quite weird if you really think about it because that's
Really.
how we learned about like for example the Great One Beast, which is hilariously interesting that they cut him out of the game because I honestly think that boss would have possibly been a replacement for Parl.
Mm.
Which, by the way, back to the original question of a boss of like another boss that pissed us off. We both completely forgot about Parl. Like if you like if
I get.
because if you go into Parl at not the right level for your character, Parl can be one of the worst bosses that you fight. But when I go and fight Parl, he ends up becoming the easiest boss that I fight.
Yeah, that's true.
Which leads into that question that we just had. What's a boss that's considered easy? I think in your case, though, like as I've watched you play Bloodborne, I'd have to say the Witches of Hemwick, or as you call them, the Bitches of Hemwick.
Because they are.
Yeah, yeah, because I think they are the easiest boss that you fought.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, because like, cause I'm trying to think like those are the ones that like come in threes and like use the snake one, the snakes, right?
No, that's the Shadows of Yarnum.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, like I said, it's been a hot minute. So some of my bots kind of like
Which,
so
funny enough, the Shadows of Yarnum, depending on the weapon you have and the programming of the bosses, they can be pretty easy too.
yeah, but yeah, I think I remember. I think I remember now the one that's like like some of those beasts. If I think like if you have like some inside or something, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Like
You're correct. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's yeah, because I'm thinking about it now. It's like because you talk about like how I didn't talk about like Miko Lash, things like that. And it's like
Mm,
I say that there's like reasons. I would say there's reasons as to why I didn't mention like some of them. Like for example, when it came to Miko Lash, like yeah, he's very annoying. Especially like when he likes to run away and like one move when he's in that one room. But
correct.
I don't know. I guess like yeah, I guess like the one reason I didn't mention him is because like he's going to be like a cheesable boss unless you're doing some crazy like doing like a blood level like a new game plus two run at a level 150 build. Then it's like now you have to actually play him seriously,
Yeah,
or
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, or like for the for the Himwig bitches and all that. It's like yeah, it's like And depending on how things go, if you both, go in there with no insight, and it's like, yeah, all you gotta do is just fucking, find one bitch, kill her a little bit, and find her sister, go from there and rinse repeat, yada yada yada.
Yeah,
But even with those beasts, I'd say it's still not really as hard as all the other bosses.
very true. I got one more question that will
Okay.
probably lead into us ending this segment very soon, because I think it'll last that long enough. Um, Top five favorite weapons.
Oh, top five favorite weapons. Mm-hmm.
You
Well,
want? Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
you go. Probably will be a way for me to learn.
All right. Well, first off, my number one is always going to be the Beast Hunter Scythe. It is not only one of my favorite weapons in Bloodborne; it's one of my favorite weapons. Period. Um, because of the simple fact that it has this, attack that lunges you forward,
Oh yeah,
and you can even
definitely.
turn it, and you can even turn its attacks into that similar to a greatsword, which is its regular form. Um,
True.
I love that weapon. It's always going to be one of my favorite weapons. Period. In like any freaking game, I love it. Um, my second would probably be the saw spear. The saw spear,
Ah,
simply because it is a double serrated weapon. So that means it does additional damage in not only its trick state, which also known as its secondary form to people that don't understand, and then its
yeah.
regular state, it does additional damage to beasts, and I love that. I absolutely love that. And even with its quick move set, it can be useful against other enemies as well that aren't beasts, depending on how you use it. It's really, really
Yeah.
nice. Um, but yeah, Saw Spear. Third, it's gonna have to be Hunter Axe, man. The hunt. There
Definitely
may
take the
be
win.
there may be many axes like mine, but this one is mine. It's one of my favorite sayings ever, and I stick to it when it comes to the Hunter Axe. Because let me tell you, if you don't know how to parry any of those really big, fat trolls, you can just spin the Wyndham and just knock them off of their feet and onto their ass.
That's true. Yeah.
And it has a move set that's literally a halberd, where with its charge attack, it does what's called the spin to win, which is a circular attack. You can
Yep.
even do a run up where it does a stab forward, like as if you're doing a forward stab with a halberd.
Hmm.
It also has a double slam attack that you can use your left trigger and right triggers together, and they can do a little combination with that. And the fact that this thing can be buffed with either fire paper or electrical paper is absolutely amazing. Um,
Oh yeah.
I love it. Uh, Number four. This is technically more of a sidearm, but I think you'll know why. The cannon.
Nah.
The cannon goes boom. That's all I really need to say.
True.
It
That's
just
true.
goes boom. Like, just boom. What's better than strapping a cannon on your fucking arm and making it go boom? Like, come on, man. Like, dead serious. What would be my number five, though? That's a good question. Uh, I think. I probably have to go with Ludwig's Holy Blade. Not the Holy Moonlight
Mm.
Sword, but the Holy Blade, where it
Oh
starts
yeah.
off with a straight sword move set and then it can turn into a giant greatsword. And funny enough,
Yeah.
if you do a quality build, which is strength and dexterity combined, It can be one of the strongest
Mm.
weapons that you make. It can even get to, possibly 1000 AR, also known as additional damage. It's one of the strongest
Yes.
weapons, yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, that would probably be my top five. What about you, Rumble? Like, even if you
Let's
had to
see.
choose three, if you even had to choose three.
Well, I mean, there's definitely quite some good ones, but I'd say probably maybe for like my number one, I kind of want to go with like Blade of Mercy, honestly.
Mm.
Um, cause yeah, cause yeah, basically like it is a knife, but it can also like split into two. But like if people have like I'd say like maybe like a certain type of build thing going with it, like you can build like I feel like you can like just like slice and dice your way through a lot of bosses and just make like just make mincemeat out of them if you know what I mean.
Mm. Mm.
Number two, I'd say probably number two would definitely be Ludwig's Holy Blade because yeah, some of those, some of the stuff you can do with it, especially when you have it in like this big form, you go to like, have enough attack power and all that, you just, just put all your force into that, the little, oomph,
Yeah,
for
the
your
big
attack and
stab.
everything.
Yeah, the big stab
Yeah,
it does. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, definitely is. That's definitely one of my favorites. Let's see. Next one, I kind of want to say Whirligig Sauce, and the pizza cutter
Oh
for
yeah, the
for that
whirly
one.
gig. Yeah, I could see you
Yeah,
saying that.
yeah, cause yeah, I mean, I've had like some moments where like I can be able to like just absolutely shred through a lot of enemies, especially like bosses and things like that too.
Plus, plus
Um,
because of its serrated, it's most valuable against beasts.
yeah, that is true.
Grind beasts into
Um,
paste.
yeah. Let's see. I guess probably another one. Uh, I guess the next one would definitely be Hunter Axe because spin to win. Starting and it's also one of the starting weapons you can go with.
Mm.
Uh, last one because I'm kind of like thinking because part of me does like the burial blade that you can be able to get, but also I do like that Beast Hunter safe as well because
Mm.
especially because that whole like forward lunge attack that you're talking about. But
Yeah, man, it's beautiful.
yeah, I don't know. I guess I had to choose between the two. I guess probably would be Beast Hunter safe because because like when you don't have it like in this like the little form, then you can both do like the forward lunge attack. And I think it could help pretty much. And I think it was also like I think it was also a weapon that became very useful in my New Game Plus 2 run with a good doctor and everything that I
Yes,
did.
Doctor Yeetus, as you named him. Yes.
Yes, one of my most infamous characters that I made in not only Bloodborne but also Elden Ring.
Yeah, which one day we'll talk about him.
Oh yeah,
But
but yeah.
yeah, that's a really really good list. I enjoyed that list. Yeah. What'd you think about mine?
I can. You definitely have some good ones too. I mean, because a lot of weapons I would say are pretty good in the game. But yeah, those were some good ones as well. Meh.
All right, so
Can't go wrong with them.
before we close out, if there was ever a Bloodborne sequel, what would be a couple things you'd want to be in that sequel?
Oh, a couple of things. Well, I think probably the one thing I would love to see is being able to just I won't say there's a thing there's a thing in Elden Ring that I know that I don't know what I'm gonna talk about, but
Hmm.
pretty much called like a summoning pool thing where it's like you can be in one area and you can send your sign out or something like that. So, so you can be in a completely different area and not have to worry about like oh you have to it's best to go here just do that because in Bloodborne you have to you have to be in like a certain area, in order for your thing to go off whenever you
Hmm.
would ring. So I would say definitely something that would be better suited, for like co-op cooperation. Where you can go no matter where you are, you can send your thing out somehow, and people will pick it up.
Okay.
Um,
Well, let me
and
see.
let's see. Okay.
Let me think of one. Probably something that debuted in Lies of P. A beautiful game, by the way. I would love if Bloodborne gave the ability to create your own weapons.
Ooh,
Like you could,
that's just
you could, yeah, basically like Lies of P, where you got like a weapon head and a weapon handle, and you can change the move set depending on what you do in the scaling. I would love that.
mm, yeah, that's not too bad.
Yeah, let's think of one more, both of us.
Oh man, um, I almost want to say, and I know this might sound like cheap to some people, but I do like the fact that from like Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring, for example, that you can be able to drop stuff to people. But
Hmm.
I don't know, like I mean, it may be simple, maybe cheap or whatever, but I do kind of like the ability to where it's like you go to like drop certain things to people and and just have hey I'm gonna give you this, start off with this, have fun with it.
Yeah, Bloodborne's the only Souls game where you can't drop stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
I always
yeah, I
wondered
mean,
why.
yeah, I mean, like I said, it may be simple, it may be cheap, but it's but sometimes cheap and simple can go a long way.
Yeah, of course. Let me see. What would be for me? I would love not only like new clothes, but the ability to dye clothes certain colors.
Ooh, that's actually a good one. Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that.
so like for example, let's say, you know, you really like the color red or like a dark red or something. You could get a clothing dye of red from literally the blood of your enemies, and you could dye it, dye your clothes red. Or let's say there's any of those blue boys, and you really like the color blue. You could
Hmm.
kill some of them and get their blood, and let's say you wanted to mix colors. You could combine red and blue and make purple. Like, go with that. Like, that's pretty freaking cool. I'd
Yeah,
probably go with that. Yeah. What do you think?
yeah, yeah. I mean, because it would be nice, because I know sometimes people be like, like 50-50 with it, but they like the whole like fashion, aspect of the game. But yeah,
Hmm.
that definitely would be a nice little touch to see.
All right. Well, everyone, this is the first episode of our Balls of Steel podcast. There might be some, audio issues here and there. We'll fix them sooner or later. If you have to, just up your volume or whatnot, be patient with us. This is our first episode. Um,
Yeah, yeah, we're not gonna be pumping things out. We're kind of like we're kind of moving things at our own pace and figuring out like what we can do, what we need to change, and all that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, and this will be a monthly podcast, as this will be debuting in January. Our next episode will be in February, and we'll see what we're going to talk about then. If you have any ideas for topics for us to talk about in future episodes, leave a comment down below. If you're watching this on YouTube, give it a like. Well, a like can take things a long way.
Right.
um, Maybe there's some things in Bloodborne that you like. Let us know what you think. And
Yeah,
yeah, until the next episode of the Balls of Steel podcast, I am Onyx,
I'm Rumble.
and we both have balls of steel.
Ball steel.
And we will see you next time.
Indeed. Take care, everyone.